something about, poor kids, not like it's not a lot of them not making it through. I think the
Mhm.
hugest piece has to do with mindset, and it also has to do with opportunities, right? There are a lot of people who are like, oh, you just give them some money and their life will be totally better. I think the thing that helped me was that I was able to get those resources to leave my environment. I don't think I'd be as successful as I was if I stayed seeing the people circling the pot, circling,
Yeah.
and they're still there. Negative progression, as one of my colleagues, Sharita Boyle, says. They're just still there going like you're just watching them. They're not going nowhere, but they going around, but they're not going anywhere. I think I'd still be in that kind of position if that was all I knew, if that's all I saw. So really propelled the Gates Millennium Scholarship really propelled me out of that station in order to get to somewhere else. But I had guides along the way, and that's really I really fundamentally believe that every single person, whether you're from the ghetto or you're not, if you have a dream, you can accomplish it, period. I
Yeah.
don't think there's nothing standing in your way except those pipes that you gotta bust through some drywall to get to, and you start crawling and digging and getting your way there with some help
Yeah.
along the way.
I agree. I think it's funny. It's funny. It was really interesting. I never watched The Office. I don't watch The Office at all, but I watched an Office episode yesterday with my family, and it was exactly that. It was Michael Scott goes into a poor neighborhood to a bunch of third graders, and he says, "Hey guys, uh, all these like poor, it was poor inner city black kids, and he goes to them, right? These are like the stereotypical people who will fall out of the system, and he goes to them and he says, I am going to pay for all your college tuition. He's going to pay for all of it. And they're like, what are you talking about? But then, as they started getting older, they're like, wait a second, this guy's really cool. This guy's awesome. Like, he's going to pay for my college tuition. And, um, and they all got together when they were all 16 years old, and they invited him back to the school. And of course they ask him, they're sort of like, where's my money, like all that stuff. But then they're also saying, thank you, right? Like, you changed my life. And all of us are here ready to go to college because now we feel like we're worth something. Now we feel like we are. When we were in third grade, there were so many people who said, oh yeah, I could have fallen off, I could have taken drugs and all those things. But at the same time, there was that belief that Michael Scott, obviously the person who said he was going to go to college, he was going to pay for their college, instilled in them that you are worth something. You are worth college. You are worth, like being something greater than where you are in your environment. And I even noticed that people don't believe that. People don't believe that they are worth more than the people around them. In inner cities, I obviously haven't been there, but it seems like there's this pervasive sense of I'm not worth that much. And I also found that in my schooling, I could be, lucky to say that I was born to be in a higher level program and schooling. And, even the people there sort of believe that they're not made to be something greater than what they were. They're not made to be something greater than what their parents were. They're they were, if their parents were an accountant, they were going into accounting. If their parents were lawyers, they're going into lawyers. And they didn't have the courage, or they didn't have the knowledge instilled in them to go out, the mindset to go out and be something and make something of themselves and follow their hearts and things like that. So I do think it really is interesting to see the mindset play out, that big belief of, what, maybe I could be better than my parents. Maybe I could be better than what society tells me to be. And I honestly, I don't see much of that around, which gets me a little pessimistic, but it's all right.
hmm hmm No, it's really that's the truth, and it I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that you know there's so much social conformity that is like a pressure. It's like constantly pushing down on you. Like
Yeah.
you have to do this because socially it's unacceptable if you don't. I mean, I have a 2.5-year-old, and I'm constantly grappling with that. Oh, he should be picking up his toys. He should be more orderly. No, he should be free. He should be playing and exploring his environment. And maybe in 5 months, I'll teach him, like, this is how you keep an orderly sort of play area because you want to know where all your toys are. You know how you spend like 20 minutes looking for that dinosaur that you really love? Well, if you put it in the spot that I told you to put it in, and here's where it lives, then you'll be able to go to it and get it, and then put it back. It's like a really good system, right? And those are really great habits to build.
Of
But
course.
socially, there's a lot of like, no, the kid has to do this, has to fit into this box in this way, because if they don't, look at how their life will be. We don't know how their life is going to be. In fact, they don't even know what their life is going to be, and neither do I. Like, and I think that that is a really key point, because in school, it's always assumed, and with parenting, right, it's always assumed, I know how this will turn out because I'm older, I've lived longer. Well, you don't know shit. Sorry. You know, like, you just don't. All you know is what your experience was. End of story. You also know how things have worked or haven't worked according to your own experience. So then how do I create an infrastructure of support to help maybe navigate some of those bad lessons learned? Yeah, you can go around some of those bad lessons learned. But look, we all have to learn our lessons. Some of us learn the hard way. I think we all learn hard lessons in various forms. So we really don't know. I mean, I think that's a really powerful thing to say. Like, I have a PhD, I have tons and tons of years of experience in education, and I have all these certifications and blah, blah, blah. But there's so many things that I just don't know. And I'm comfortable with that. I think what people aren't comfortable with is saying that they don't know. And then we have a societal weird thing where people pretend like they do. And then they're like, oh, this is what you should do. This is how you should do it. And then you're like, wait a second, I'm having a crisis. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I've been doing this, and it doesn't satisfy me. It doesn't fulfill me. So then what are you to do next? Sitting
Yeah.
there with all your degrees and accolades and whatever. I mean, what do you do? Like, you should be living your life on purpose, of purpose, whatever you decide. And that's really hard when you're so focused on thinking and listening to what other people have to say about it.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and
No,
I,
it,
yeah,
it really does. It does kill me because I find that, conformity, especially, right? Like wondering what other people think about you is such a, it really hinders people's lives, right? Like I find that the masses conform, right? And it's like the cost of breaking against, let's say the tribe, right? If we're speaking in that sort of terms, but the cost just essentially of breaking away from the social constructs, like it's that idea of being like your parents tell you to be a lawyer in a movie, right? And you go to be an artist, right? And it's that idea of like your parents are gonna give you a lot of crap because you're gonna be an artist, and they're gonna be like, oh, there's too much risk and all these things are gonna happen. And I find that you know to be great, you need to take some risks. Like I'm sure that in the Genius program, you were one of the few people who took some risks. Had that positive mindset, were able to really follow your goals. So I must ask, what is, as a coach who's dealing with all these people who some of them probably have the mindset, some of them probably don't have the mindset, what is it that makes some people really succeed and really go and follow their dreams, and what makes some people just follow the system or just fail?
yeah. It has to do with this belief uh, in one's capability. I think it's just that the genesis of it is, hey, I can do that. And not I want to, and then you don't take any action. Or I know I might be able to. You might be able to. That means you're not going to take any action. To me, that's the difference. When someone says, I can accomplish X, and they are asking for help, they're ready. They're ready. And all they need at that point is a lot of, like, a really clear one definition of, well, what is it that you want? I was just talking to a new client who came to me wanting to get a master's degree, or he thought he wanted to get a PhD. And is like, at the end of our 20 minutes, he learned that actually he really wants to get a master's with a certification to be able to engage in some psychological practice. But he didn't know that he just heard like, oh, in order to be a psychologist, I need a PhD. Well, that's not true. You know, you have to look at your state guidelines, your state requirements, look at your whatever. And so we talked through that, and it was just so fascinating because he said, until this conversation, I wasn't even ready to take any action.
Hmm.
When we had that conversation, he was clear on step one. What is it that I really want? And can I, you know, I believe I can get it. How do I go get it? So now, you know, you don't need a PhD, you just need a master's, but you need a certification. Then we need to do more digging. Step two is the total hardcore action. So now we're going to start digging into some of these programs. You're going to get more narrow. You're going to decide, okay, this is how much I want to spend on this. We start looking, digging, amass all your information. Step three, you really kind of just say, okay, I have about 10 possible options to get to that ultimate goal. I know that I can't really pursue all 10, so I have to make some choices. How do I make those choices? You need more information, right? Have you considered, you need questions, powerful questions from a coach or someone. Have you considered how much it might cost you? Have you considered that the program might offer scholarships? Have you considered any number of possibilities that maybe you aren't thinking about? And you're worried about things, but you're not turning those worries into powerful questions that you can answer and then move through. Because maybe, you know, going to, I don't want to name any universities, but maybe going to University X is so expensive, but the university down the street from your house isn't. And you can accomplish what you want by choosing the one close to your house and saving tons of money, right? But that kind of deliberation, that kind of thinking through is a really key part. And then the last step in this sort of goal progression is to apply. So you pick 3 to 5 places. You had a list of 10, you cull it down, you apply, and then you wait and see what happens. And then the waiting and seeing what happens is the killing part, because then what are you going to do in between? And that's the piece where it's like, okay, you know, you want to accomplish this. Well, let's reconnect with your why, because it's the why that kind of outlines kind of a philosophy of life, right? How you're going to, how you're going to think about how you live. That's part one. Part two is, what are some of the things you can do to uplift some of those worries and concerns so that you have the right mindset of success? Mm-hmm. And then once we have the mindset of success, we can manifest what we want. And that's the power of intention. That's like the gratitude, like visualizing and being grateful, and all the techniques that we learned from positive psychology to really help us attract what it is that we want to align with us accomplishing our pipe dream, right? Yeah. And it's amazing when you do those things and you trust the process and you watch how it unfolds. It is amazing. It is amazing. Before I got a message from you about this podcast, someone challenged me to do a podcast every single week. I had done 4 in 1 month, and they said, great, you already have done it. It was like a shock. It was a shock to my system. I took a week for me to believe that I could do it. And then I said, you know, I'm not sure how I'm going to do this, but I totally can. I opened my computer. Boom. There was your message. I'm not making this up.